and welcome in to Closest to the Wind, Byron Nelson week, the week everybody's been waiting for months. Oh, that's next week, the PGA. But we do have the Byron Nelson. It is going to be a cool tournament. Played at a course that our buddy Pro has played multiple occasions. He knows this course like the back of his hand. We're going to let him talk about it. We're going to let Guru talk about the model before we go to our plays and fades. How you doing tonight, Pro?
I'm doing real well, gentlemen. How are the both of you?
Man, nothing to do but look at golf stuff all day.
I'm just excited about the featured group, man. I got done with the model. I saw the pairings come out, and the thing that stood out right away is the fact that Scotty, Willie Z, and Jordan are all playing together. I could just sit down and watch them play all day long.
Oh, my God. That is a good group.
It's a good one, boys. That's a good one. That's a juicy one.
And we're going to talk about all those players in some. I'm really looking forward to the plays and fades we're going to get to in just a few minutes. Before we even get to Guru talking about the model and his best attributes and how he divvied it up, Pro, talk about this course.
Yeah. So if you guys remember when Nick, remember when we were hitting die courses, and I talked about Stonebridge Ranch. Stonebridge Ranch is like attached to this golf course, right? It's like in the same, like literally miles down the road.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I've only played the golf course once. It's long. It's hard, like, especially for like, you're going to see, in my opinion, these guys tear this golf course to shreds, even though it's 7,400 yards. When you're playing a new tournament, the PGA doesn't really necessarily know how to set the golf course up, right? You don't want to embarrass guys. Guys don't want to play they just got off of Quail Hollow, which was a pain in the ass.
It was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you just want to try to go, and Kia was a pain in the ass. So you just kind of want to set the course up, and I just have a feeling it's going to be a birdie fest, but long par threes. The golf course is right in front of you. It's nothing special. Again, I mean, it's a fun golf course. It's a nice golf course. I don't think it's a fantastic golf course by any means. And these guys, I do know that it's supposed to be wet, so it's going to play long. The golf course is over 7,400 yards as is, pretty wide open. You would think if it's playing wet, the only mass this golf course has is the wind, which it can really blow out here. But if the wind doesn't blow, they're going to tear it up. And we know how it is. I mean, even if the wind blows, they're going to tear it up.
So give me your what's the winning score going to be? 20
It could get to 20. Yeah, I honestly believe it can get to 20. That's why. But again, the par threes, I mean, you have 3 par threes over 215 yards. That's kind of a lot of the teeth of the golf course. The second hole is also a ridiculously hard golf hole. It's going to be a fun course, but again, we were at Trinity. Last year was at Trinity. Trinity's kind of like it's a nice golf course. Like if we were to go play the golf course, we'd be like, yeah, this is a nice ass golf course. But at the same time, we're looking at how the pros are going to approach something like this. It is more of an open golf course. It's narrow in spots, but they're certainly going to be able to get after it this week.
So You think they're going to have a better time here than they did at Trinity for sure?
Yes, I do. Trinity, the weird thing about Trinity is a more of like a link style golf course. It's very strange to be in the Metroplex of Dallas and have a kind of what Trinity Forest is, and that's why it's one of a kind in the area. It's either your cup of tea or it's not. But I think these guys will light it up this week. I could be wrong, but again, they're really damn good. And the thing I think that the PGA will err on the side of not letting the course get away from, because you don't know, like when you play courses every year, the grounds crew, the superintendents, they know how much to the edge they can push the course, right? And when you have a new course like this, it's hard. But I mean, they've had past tournaments here. They've had a KF, they've had what was it at the time? I think it was a web.com event, and guys went low here at that point. So we'll see. But I expect that, it's going to be a birdie fest, especially if it's soft.
So I'll put you on the spot. We were talking offline, and you said you weren't even convinced that this was the best course in the Dallas Metroplex.
Oh, no question about it. Dallas National is by far the nicest course on there. Dallas National is where Spieth's a member. I mean, that's where everybody's a member in Dallas, is Dallas National. Dallas has lots of nice courses. I mean, Las Colinas Country Club hosts a women's event, but this is not the best course in Dallas. And I mean, it's top 5, and a lot of people say it's super hard and super awesome. But I've played it, and I mean, I've played lots of places. I prefer Stonebridge Ranch, the course that's right down the road. It's just the way it is. I mean, it'll be fun to watch. It's not a terrible by any means. It's not a terrible golf course, but in the Metroplex, man, there's lots of good golf courses, and it's definitely top 5. But yeah, Dallas National kind of sits up here as far as the elite of golf courses in Dallas, and that's even over Colonial. And I mean, Colonial's a wonderful track. I had the opportunity to play Colonial in a scramble, great track as well. But again,
it's like completely different, though. I mean,
yeah,
it's like apples to pears. I mean, you're not even really in the same ballpark.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll see how it shakes out, I suppose.
It'll be fun either way.
So what are your thoughts here then, Guru?
So, I mean, it's still a TPC course. So, I mean, they all fall under the same umbrella, you know? I mean, you've got, I mean, the two that stand out to me, and I'm not going to say that they're, entirely similar, but, when I look at the field and just look at the flyover and the how the course is laid out, I go back to what Bryson did at, the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, and then with that no-name field in Minnesota at the Twin Cities, and Michael Thompson hit 17 or 18 under last year. I know there's going to be a little wind in, Texas, but there's always wind. You just deal with it. You get used to play it. I mean, they tore up Valero. I mean, they're going to tear it up. I mean, unless you end up just hitting it and unfortunately hit it into the creek and have to drop and, all that kind of stuff.
The creek is annoying. The creek is all, like, you play the course and it doesn't go away. It's just like there all the time.
And then I think the 9th that you have to drive it over the creek and then you have to hit it back over with the approach. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's on 13 or 14 holes. I mean, that's probably the one big annoying thing that you have there. But otherwise, once you kind of learn your way around, you just rip it, and hopefully get it within 15 feet and knock it in. Because I think even I know the greens are bent this week, but I mean, I think the stimp's still right around 12. So it's not like you're going to, get killed. So, for me, the hardest thing in building the model was the fact that there's really no course history. So I got a little creative this week, my course history really took 2 different waves. So I moved the comps into my course history. So I weighted them a little bit more, but I decided to just look at the bare metrics of the course, over 7,400 yards and with a cut after, 2 rounds, and then just kind of see how it, racked up over the last, 36 rounds, but I limit it to the last couple of years. So that was kind of one metric. I still have the odds in there again, put a little bit of wind, but really it's more based, top 10, and it's more, making the cut. The one thing I did a little different just to get a little froggy and add a little variance to it. So I decided to take round 2 scoring and round 4 scoring, because just watching the last few weeks, the guys that have opened up the first round have held on, but they haven't really done anything spectacular. So, and if you follow the trends of the last couple tourneys, the way the tea leaves read is that basically eventual winners, 4 or 5 strokes back after day 1, and then he kind of closes the gap a little bit on day 2. So I've got a little round 2, round 4 variance in there to take that up.
Wow.
The form is actually the same kind of 3 metrics in there, but based on kind of the back end of the field with some amateurs and some guys that I just don't think are going to really go very far. So I really don't have the long-term form weighted as heavily as normal. So I geared it more based on like a period of time. So I kind of have like a 50-day kind of form marker. I have a 90-day form marker, and I have 180. So the 180 is really not really much weight, but the 90 is going to carry it back into early February. And then the 50 is going to carry it, I think, right around right after the Players, I think. So that's kind of the form component. The strokes gained is there. I still mix up the tee to green like normal, but again, it's I've dialed back up the off the tee a little bit. The approach is still up, kind of in the same normal kind of area, but the around the greens down a little bit, and then I finally got off the damn Bermuda we've been chasing for the last, it seems like 12 weeks in a row. So I dialed down the bent a hair, but it's still kind of the bent's part of the metric. And what am I forgetting? Oh yeah, I still have that magic cocktail of, other stats I throw in there. So, you've got the 4 par 5s that are over 550. So rather than just look at, I went a little more specific and looked at them directly at the 550 range. And then with those 3 par 4s, I'm sorry, 3 par 3s right at that 215. So I kind of got a little precise with it and went to that 200, 225. And then I took the par, because there's 10, it's a 10 par 4, 4 par 3, 4 par 5 split. So then I've got the par 4s, relatively heavy, but, basically, greens and reg is up there like normal, proximity still that same 175, 200 plus, especially with those par 3s in there. So that's going to, play a part like it has the last couple weeks in a row. I mean, driving distance is up there a little bit too. And then, the typical stuff, your bogey avoidance, there's, some a little bit of scrambling. I mean, the usual suspects.
I mean, birdie or better, big time on this one. Yeah.
You're still going to have to, and that's the big thing, because, if we're really thinking it's going to be 20 as opposed to 10, you're going to have to score. So there's going to be a lot of people that play a really great week that just, I assume, missed the cut because they just can't get it done. So, you're going to have.
Well, we're going to go right to plays and fades, but there's one player I want you to talk about because I love the fact that you have this guy at $7,500 in your top 13, and I want you to just talk about Doug Ghim. I know we're going to get to him, but just talk about Doug Ghim and why you have him so high this week.
That is, hold on. I've got a nice little sheet on him here. Hold on. Just 1 second. And here we go. So perfecto. So as far as Ghim goes, he is actually one of the things that stood out for me that I was kind of surprised based on the comps. And I've got a more to offset the fact we don't really have a really good course history this week. I've got a few more comps in here than normal. So, when weighing the comps out, he was 31st when you kind of dive in. So that's actually a pretty good rank for a guy that's, 7,500 and it shows up. As far as the round 2, round 4 scoring, that didn't really help his case much, but he's still middle of the road. But he's actually got pretty good top 10 odds compared to the rest of the field, and his made cut odds were actually, substantially up there too. What else kind of separates him a little bit? He's actually played really good in the short term, the middle term, and the long term. He's got top 30 form in all 3 categories. So the form's actually carrying a lot of his weight. But what was really kind of surprising to me on Ghim was the fact that when I cooked up the tee to green, he was actually 5th in the entire field. So he's actually going to move up over some people with the 5th ranking. And to go with the 5th as well, he was 13th in the field the way I cooked it up with the putting with the bend. Because I looked at 3-putt avoidance and I looked at different links that I kind of, like the 0 to 5, 5 to 10, stuff like that, and cooked that in there. So he's really, on paper, he's really got a strong all-around game, and he's actually been playing pretty well. And compared to the lower end tier, it's actually going to put him up there. So he's just outside the big gun, so to speak. And, at that, depending on where you can get him now, I think he's dropped a little bit depending on which book you use, but the outright odds are really good. And, as far as DraftKings, he's I don't care how chalky he gets. He's almost, a must play. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he shows up in the optimal here too, but you'll refresh my memory in a little while. But so, yeah, I think you could go a lot of ways with it. And I think there's a whole lot of worse places you could go. So I think he's a good starting point for lineups and bets, definitely.
He's not only in the optimal, he's in both optimals, because today we have a double barrel optimal for you, and we'll get to that a little later. And so, this is cool. Well, man, thanks for breaking that down, both of you guys. You got my back because I have been working on this new food truck concept.
As long as we get food sent to us, then there's no issue.
It sounds delicious, all 5 of them.
Dude, we are so excited. I did 3 articles today, 3 interviews. It's getting real, and so it's kind of fun. Anyway, but you know what? There's golf to be played. There's money to be won. You guys ready to win some?
Yes.
All right. Once again, Justin is not able to join us. He will be on for the PGA next week. I do have his numbers, and I do have his plays and fades, so we'll throw those in there. But let's get right to it, man. Let's get to the plays and fades for this week, starting with 10K, and we are going to start with Pro.
Yeah, Bryson, just starting there. I mean, listen, last week, the fact that he had a top 10 after the triple,
oh my God, I know.
The triple, the implosion, the basic miscut, the hop your ass on a plane back to Dallas to realize that you made the cut to have to hop back on a plane over to Charlotte. again, if he just tones that down, this is more of a wide open ballpark here, in my opinion. There are holes that do get somewhat narrow, but he can kind of hit it anywhere out here. He's going to be able to again, his weapon is 20 yards further than anybody's weapon when he wants to go to it at this point. The T9 last week, it's hard for me to fade Bryson or to not pick Bryson on a lot of golf courses right now, because if he's just okay in most other aspects of his game, like if he hits the driver well, all he has to be is kind of decent, right? He has to have a decent putting week and he has to be decent, and he's going to contend. It's just that much of an advantage for him at some of these places. Then I'm going to go with Daniel Berger. Daniel Berger's had time off. Yeah, he was 13th at RBC. I like his game. Again, I think he'll bode well here with the little bleed cutter that he enjoys hitting. And then finally, I mean, the chalk play that we know is coming is Jordan Spieth. I don't have much to say besides he's freaking awesome. He's got 6 top 10s. The last
Playing in Texas, baby. Playing in Texas.
Yo, the last 2 events, of course, the third at the Masters, the win at Valero. So Dutot, I know he got COVID a few weeks back, but it sounds like he's ready to rock and roll. So I expect him to play really well this week, and who knows what happens next week down on Key Island.
Well, of course, Bryson is obviously our number one in the model again for the second week. Did you give me a fade?
Oh no, my fade's Hideki, and the only reason is listen, he hasn't played since the Masters. I mean, we don't know what his. I mean, the dude's probably been the busiest man on the planet when he got back home. No COVID concerns with Spieth. Spieth potentially is an anti-vaxxer guy. Who knows? But that's a different discussion. Nobody cares about that. But yeah, I'm gonna fade Hideki, just because of we don't know what the form is, and I'm sure he's been nonstop just busy. Since he returned, so that's going to be my plays.
Yep, I get it. Justin, who just piped in, he went ahead and went with Rahm and Berger and Jordan Spieth, and so you guys are really close. He had Rahm instead of Bryson, and he's also number 2 to fade Justin. But you know what? Before we even finish the 10Ks, I want to give a huge shout out to Rory Mcilroy. Rory Mcilroy
playing to the crowd.
Playing to the crowd last week. Looked really good. You're right. He had that cut shot. He looked really, really good. He looked like Rory, and his odds already increased for next week's PGA.
He's the favorite, isn't he now?
All Falcon Day. He hit it, and you know what? It was the week that we picked him to hit. We had 3 out of 4 of us actually say to play him, and so hey, good all around. Everybody, and Al Falcon Day comes in there with not making a big deal out of it. It's what Rory does.
It's not a major.
He's so humble. I love this guy. All right, so Guru, you want to go ahead and go with your 10Ks?
Sure. So top to bottom, like this is one of those weeks where like I kind of ended up staying with the model, and I don't know if it's going to come burn me, and I mean through most of the classes, honestly. So we'll find out. But yeah, I'm taking Bryson. The course seems to fit him like a glove. I mean, Pro touched on it. I mean, if you could basically screw around at Wells Fargo and still back your way into a T9, like if you just halfway, have your head on straight and don't screw around, like, I don't know, maybe you'll get a top 5 if you just sort of halfway try. And here's hoping he does better than that. But he's one of those guys, according to the model, he's top 10% in just the major categories. Again, that sort of works out well, and the barometer I used to measure this go round was I went 60 days out. But he's 5th off the tee, 6th around the green, and 3rd in putting. I mean, that's like just kind of elite top of the field stuff. I mean, you can't, you look at his last 6, I mean,
knucklehead holes.
Yeah. Just even with those 1 or 2, he's still beating them, 90% of the field, which is insane. He's got 4 top 22s or better in his last 6 starts. So the form's there. And you look at his last 16 rounds, right? So he's 1st in the field in bogeys, 2nd in the field in birdies, 3rd in driving distance, and 13 greens and reg. Yeah, I'll hit that and not quit it. I'll just take a piece and just keep on taking it. So Bryson's numero uno, and he's my play there. Yeah, I'm going to take Spieth too. There's no way I can't not take Spieth. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the tourney that he debuted at. He's from the area. I kind of think this is one in his back pocket that he wants. And, the fact that he's in better shape now than he's been, if there's a time for him to go get it, let's hope it's now, because he's got a little home field advantage over just about everybody else. If he doesn't take it down, it's going to be Scheffler Zalatoris, I assume. But yeah, so as far as the 10K thing, I'm going to take him. I mean, I know he hasn't played, but I mean, still last 60 days, he's first in the field in approach. He's 21st in putting, 27th off the tee. Then you look at the other fun stuff. He's 12th in bogeys, 5th in birdies, 8th in sand saves, 45th greens and reg. Yeah. And then I think his last 6, I mean, he's got 5 top 15s his last 6 starts. Yeah. Gimme. Just because they were 5, like I just went with 2, but if I was going to take a third, I'm probably going to take Berger as well.
He's in. I got you down.
Yeah, so I don't have anything great to add except I'm just So then it's a coin flip really between Rahm and Decky. And at the end of the day, Decky's kind of a grinder. I just don't see Decky lining it up on too many courses. And if it's going to be a 20 under par kind of thing, and I don't have the historical information in front of me, but I don't know the lowest thing he's ever shot over cumulative 4 rounds. And I don't think it's going to be here. I know he showed up in, Houston before the Masters and did all right, but that was a tougher course. Of the big guys up front, he's got the lowest average, DraftKings scoring between the 5. So that's something there. You take the Masters out. I mean, he's got 2 missed cuts and he's got 2 top 30s or worse in his last 7 starts. So the form's not there. You look at the last 60 days, he's still 101st off the tee, 101st with the putter. So that's just crappy. And then you look at his last 16 rounds. I mean, he's 73rd in driving distance and 72nd in driving accuracy. And we know as a whole, he can't putt. All fucking day reminds me of that all day long. So you put that in a nice little blender. Yeah, he's a big fat fade for sure.
Yep. And we're going to have a consensus fade for this week, which is kind of cool. I don't have a whole lot to add, except I'm going to add a few things based on, my dumb model. I went with off the tee, distance, birdie or better, approach, eagles, and in putting, and I've got it all weighted totally different. But I also, as you know, I'm big into the 24 rounds, last 24 rounds. And Berger's number 1. He's number 1 in the model. He's 4th in birdie or better in this field. He's 10th in approach, 13th in eagles, 20th in putting, and 8th off the tee. And he's 39th in driving distance. And so he hits all the things I'm looking for. And I love what he hit on your model and your metrics. And so, yeah, he's there. Also, Bryson is there. No brainer. He's number 1 in our model. He's number 1 in off the tee. He's number 1 in driving distance. He's 3rd in birdie or better. I mean,
don't you dare screw this up. Don't you dare screw this up. Jordan Spieth better be the 3rd player.
And Jordan Spieth is my 3rd player.
Everything's fine.
So we have a consensus player with Jordan Spieth. And let me tell you, based on the last 24 rounds in this field, Jordan is number 1 in birdie or better. He's number 1 in approach. He's number 10 in putting, and he's number 12th in eagles. On top of all the stuff that you guys laid out, yeah, he's got to be in there, even at 10-7. And I'm, of course, fading. There's not many, and you got to fade one. I'm fading Hideki. I believe he's coming back. He hasn't played, to your guys' point, in weeks since the Masters. And who knows what all he's been doing, but I know that I feel like he's going to use this to tune up for the PGA next week. And to your point, he's a grinder. I don't know if he can get to 20. Of course, we did see one round at the Masters where he went 8 under, 9 under.
Yeah, but he'll go 63 and then he'll go 75. And
right.
That's what he does. So.
Yep.
Right. And so it looks like Spieth is the only consensus, right? No, Berger. Berger's also a consensus. So we got 2 consensus guys. Justin screwed everything up by taking Rahm instead of Bryson, or we would have had a sweep.
And it's hard for me to ever not pick Rahm, but
I know his form is just not there, man.
It hasn't been that great. It is what it is. Rahm's going to be back and be awesome, but it just is what it is.
But he's such a good player, and he's so good at so many things, and he's still number 2 in our model. But he's $11K. When you got Jordan Spieth $300 less, Berger $900 less, those are value plays compared to paying up for Rahm. So
I agree.
it's a dollar game for me now.
Yep.
And so of course watch Rahm out there, go out there and
Certainly
slay it.
will. He certainly
But he
will.
gets his temper is just right back to where it was.
Oh,
But
he's
anyway,
electric, brother.
it
I
is
love
true.
watching a Rombo on a PGA Tour live because he just gets pissed.
And all Falcon Day is right. He is a guy that can win any week. And so are these other guys. I mean, I can't call Berger a guy that can win any week, but I can say it about some of the other guys. But we like Berger for this course, and that's where we're going. So anyway, let's go to 9K, and we'll start with Guru.
I hate to get really boring, and it's one of the few times I can say I've done this, but when I look at the model, number 5 in the model is Will Zalatoris. Number 6 in the model is Matthew Fitzpatrick, and number 7 in the model is Scotty Scheffler. I'm going to take them back to back to back to back. They just make complete and total sense to me, and they fit in all kinds of ways. So, I'm going to take Zalatoris and Scheffler together. I mean, they're playing that threesome with Spieth. I think that thing's just going to be insane. They're going to keep going at each other. I wouldn't be stunned if they all shot ridiculous scores, Thursday and Friday both, and they're all in the top 10 when it's all said and done. I think, if you could squeeze all three and play all three, I like that pairing that much. So, I haven't read up on it, but, I think Zalatoris has had some tie-in with the course for like 10 plus years. So he's probably got some hidden baked in rounds and then got some family ties in or something. And we all know from the area. Yeah. So, I mean, he probably knows it backwards and forwards, but
he missed a cut last week.
He didn't really care. He was just there because he needed to be.
My point is he missed the first cut. I mean, that's his third cut in the last 23 tournaments.
He's played every freaking week, dude.
He's a machine.
He's just trying to, again, he's taken the Sung JM approach, just cash as many possible paychecks as we can.
Well, now he's got to save up for that wedding with his lady friend. So, I mean, he needs all the money he can get.
That's right. Start stacking the dollars.
He's another one of those guys, according to the model, it's top 10 in the field in all the major categories, which is something I haven't seen from him yet. So that's a good sign too. You look at the last 60 days, he's 11th, with approach, 44th around the green, 38th in putting. His last 8 starts, he's got 6 top 30s or better. Last 16 rounds, he's 21st greens and reg, 31st driving distance, 18th in birdies, 31st in bogeys. Yeah, check. I'm good. Scheffler, when you look at him, he has top 10% of the field except for the strokes gained thing that I kind of cooked up. But when you really break it down, he's actually second as far as the tee to green, number. So his Achilles heel, if you will, would be the putter. But if you're crushing it, killing it, and getting super close, if you can't hit a 5-footer, then I don't need to be backing you. But I think he can hit a 5-footer and it'll be perfectly fine. So I'm not really worried about whatever putting he doesn't bring to the table that some other folks may have. But when you look at him, his last 60 days, he's 13th off the tee, 40th in approach, 48th around the green. Again, the putter's the one thing that's not been there. But you look at the last 16 rounds continued, it's still the same thing. You got 14th driving distance, 9th in driving accuracy. It's going to be there. 19th greens and reg, 13th in birdies, 24th in bogeys. Yeah. I don't really care. He's going to hit it close. He's going to kill it. He's going to crush it. While the other guys are birding, he's probably the one getting the eagles on the par 5s and lapping everybody that way. So I'm good there. Fitzpatrick was next on the list. And you know what? I'm going to take it because the form is really impressive when you kind of, drill down on it because he's got 6 top 18s or better in his last 7. So that's pretty elite, in the field. You look at the last 60 days, he's got a little of that whole Sanjay thing going, but it's not nearly as bad as Sanjay's was. So he's first over the last 60 days off the tee, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's Matt Fitzpatrick for crying out loud. And then you've got, he's second in the field in putting. And even with that, his around the green game is still 31st. So the irons are the only thing that are slightly off, and they're nowhere near as terrible as Sanjay's were. The last 16 rounds, he's 11th in driving accuracy. He's 7th greens and reg. He's tied for 3rd in birdies and 2nd in bogeys. And he's top 10% in the field in the major categories, except for the comp 7,400 kind of mashup I did, but he's still 27th in the comps. The only thing that kind of, tails behind a little bit is, the slightly longer course. He's either going to do really, really well and like it, or he's just going to be, kind of middling and probably, second tier. But I'm going to take a chance that the form and he likes the course. And, with the PGA coming next week, he's here to, show up and do well and ride that in next week. So yeah, Zalatoris, Scheffler, and Fitzpatrick are my 3. So I struggled with the fade. I did, because there's I'm not really a Mark Leishman fan, but I feel like he's coming around. You've got the return of Brooks and
Mark Leishman, man.
He's a Euro.
He's a good dude. He likes mowing his lawn and stuff.
He's a good dude, but you know what? I'm still pissed about the Zerk, man. He and Cam Smith can suck an egg, but we'll talk about that later.
Talking about Cam Smith.
Oh, I'm still bitter, but it's okay. So, kind of what was left, I'm gonna fade Sam Burns, and
wow.
Yeah.
You had me at Leishman.
Yeah, I know. I really wanted to, but I couldn't do Leishman because I kind of think he's around. So yeah, and the thing that scares me about Sam Burns is that he's playing with Bryson. So he's either going to keep up with him or he's going to get lapped and trying to kind of match him, and I don't think he could do it. Now, things I don't like, right? So compared to the other guys up there, the rest of them have like top 10% of the field in terms of like odd stuff, but he's like top 20. So obviously there's some folks there that don't really think he's, it's quite as good as there. When you look at the strokes gain stuff, when I cooked it up with the model, he was 49th with the tee to green. And then he was 61st with the putter. So that's kind of more, middle of the road. And then you kind of drill in. Now, not to say he hasn't had some good performances, but when you look at his last 7 events, he still has 3 missed cuts in there. So are you going to get the awesome one, or are you just going to get the guy off the break that, needs a little run up to kind of get going? And then you look at his last 60 days, he's 85th off the tee and 85th with the around the green. And then you drill into the last 16, he's 90th with his driving accuracy and 104th with greens and reg, and he's 102nd in bogeys. And he was the only one I could really make a serious, compelling case not to use outside of just not trusting Brooks out of the gate. But you know what? I'm going to trust Brooks out of the gate. I'm just not going to play him in my 3, but I think he'll do well enough if you want to use him. So my fade is Sam Burns.
Well, the most important stat to me on Sam Burns is 80 to 1 when I hit with him 2 weeks ago. And so he'll always have a special part in my heart. But anyway, I know it's a long time ago. That's cool. Pro, what do you got for 9K?
Yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick again. I struggle not to play Matt Fitzpatrick anywhere at this point. I think he's not a guy that has really hung up wins, but like his game is as solid as it gets. He was 4th at RBC. He's 11th in strokes gained putting. Again, the guy can roll the rock. He can make birdies. Gonna go with Scotty Scheffler. I don't know what else needs to be said. Dude also can make a ton
Dave
of birdies.
will say it. Don't worry.
Yeah, like you touched on the putter. He's a streaky putter, right? So like when that bad boy gets hot, Scheffler can throw up 10 or 11 birdies. I've seen it. He's done it.
He's the last guy to shoot 59 on tour, I think?
Yep.
So I wouldn't be stunned at all if some crazy something like that happened here. I don't think it will, but I wouldn't be stunned if it did.
And then as much as I like Will Zalatoris, I know you guys do, I'm not going to play Will Zalatoris. I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka. It's major season, boys. It's we're getting into last time we saw Brooks Koepka, he looked like a complete idiot. We couldn't even line his ball up and shit. It was embarrassing. That was a month ago at Augusta. I'm hoping he's in a little bit better shape, but again, I think
we don't have to squat to stretch.
This is the time of year he starts to get it going, and I know Zalatoris is a sexy pick. I'm certainly not going to fade Will Zalatoris, but I'm just not going to pick him. And then my fade Sam Burns, and the reason is you nailed it on the head. I mean, before his win. He would miss 3 out of the last 4 cuts. So it's not like, outside of that week, his form hasn't been great. And again, somebody that I just feel like fading. I know he's a recent winner. I know it's hard to fade him, but like Nick said, he hit it everything on the head. To me, it's the recent form of it. You can get a week where you love a course, and it's just like as a whole, his season recently in the last 60 days hasn't been because we were kind of on the early Sam Burns, and then Sam Burns started doing this, and the model was like, then Sam Burns
all jumped, then we got back on.
He's here, and then all of a sudden he wins, and it's like, what the hell is that all about?
Well, Sam Burns is, for what it's worth, he's number 10 in our model, and so there's a lot of 9K players. You guys are playing more over him. So just curious. Will be fun to watch to see how that goes. We do have a comment from Ryan. You're not seeing Brooks stats after 5 weeks. Missed cut incoming. I sure hope not, because I'm playing Brooks also. Brooks is playing is one of my 9K plays.
It's major season, man. It's time. He's ready. He'll be ready. All Brooks does is compete before majors, around majors, and in majors.
I mean, if you look at his 24 rounds, he's 21 off the tee, 21 in distance. He's 5th in birdie or better, 12th in approach, 25th in eagles, and 11th in putting. You can't fade a guy like that at 99. He's at 9,900. He's below the 10K threshold with those numbers. Yeah, I'm gonna play him. And to your point, it is major season, so I'm playing him. I'm playing Scotty Scheffler. We don't have to talk about that anymore, even though I want to really, really bad. I don't need to. And of course, I'm going with Will Zalatoris. It's just a rubber stamp for me, Zalatoris, because he's still priced. I mean, now this is the most respect he's gotten in a while at 9,700, which it's understandable, but the guy's lights out with the long irons, and I think after last week, I think this week he's going to come out. His history with this course, I think he is going to be chalky, but he should be chalky based on what he's been doing. And my fade is Mark Leishman, and it
was one of the other. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean in this field in the last 24 rounds, he's 106th off the tee. He's 98th in distance. He's 149th in eagles, which the eagles are going to be big in this thing. He's 32nd in putting. Now he does have a pretty good birdie or better in approach, but those two alone don't come near to that $9,200 salary that he's you're gonna have to pay to get him. So he is my fade. And now real quickly to highlight Justin, he had Fitzpatrick, Scheffler, and he went with Ryan Palmer, who's also pretty high in our model, right there at number 11. And he faded Brooks Koepka. And so we have a Brooks fade, and we also have 2 Burns fades and a Leishman fade. And so the consensus all the way around is Scheffler, and only Scheffler in that 9K range. And so we'll have some interesting talks when we get to our consensus. And so anyway, here we go. Brooks after 5-week rest, miscut, miss what? Okay, miscut, 28th, 32nd, 34th, and a miscut. Okay, but it's major season.
It is. I mean, listen.
And so, yeah, you know what?
I could fall on my face and bust my nose on this play easily, but it's tough for me to not see Brooks Koepka competing next week and come the weekend at Kiawah Island. I mean, Brooks Koepka.
I like him. I got him. You got him. I like him. I love Brooks Koepka. He is a winner this year, and so and he's Brooks Koepka. He's Brooks Koepka.
He'll tell you he's Brooks Koepka too.
It's the effing Catalina wine mixer, man.
Well, you've got the same rough as you've got at the St. Jude, and he's one of those people that like Memphis. So I mean, if he kind of gets it all going and feeling and gets the ball spinning, and I'm sure you could touch on trying to spin it out of the Zoja anyway. He could do well. I don't know that he'll win, but it was basically a player of fate. Right. So if this is one of those weeks he hits, 30th and Leishman misses the cut, then mission accomplished. You're completely successful.
Stop the hate on Leishman. No more Leishman hate.
It's over. I just had to put him in there.
All right, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm sensitive with Mark Leishman for some reason.
I didn't see anybody playing.
Well, so, I'm not that sensitive. I needed to play it.
All right. We're going to jump to 8K. I'm just going to go ahead and read off what Justin got for you. Justin's got him, and I do like Ryan's comment here. I'd rather see him miss the cut and have low ownership next week. That makes sense too. Nothing wrong with that. Justin does have Jason Day. He also has our boy Aaron Wise and Charles Schwartzel in 7K or 8K range. And then he has he's fading what's he got against Westy? Fading Westwood.
He does. He's faded Westy multiple times.
He's been drinking your Euro Kool-Aid for like the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, you guys gotta stop. I mean, man. You pissed
even
Tommy
if it's
Fleetwood
Rory,
off in the top
when
10s
a Euro wins the PGA next week, I mean, that's going to end that whole conversation right there.
We'll see what happens. All right, so let's go ahead and go right to Guru this time for 8K.
Okay, so I'm going to say that I think the 8K range is a flaming pile of dog shit.
I do too.
Like, I don't really want any part of the 8K range. And honestly, I don't really want any part of the 6K range, but I'm more comfortable dipping into the high end of the 6s than I am playing people in the 8s. I don't like anybody here. I don't want to play anybody here, but just for the sake of the game, I guess I'll play. Yeah, I know. I'm doing
When
you a
you
favor.
see my list, it's like, what the hell? How do these guys at 8K?
So I'm gonna go with Justin because honestly, at the moment, like you got to find something to stick out. So it's class and names and figuring out something that's gonna make sense and make me sleep well tonight. So I'm gonna take Jason Day. Exactly, all fucking day, and I will. Just give me some time. The night's young. So Day's kind of interesting because if you look at his last 60 days, so he's second off the tee, he's 20th in approach, and he's first around the green. The only thing the guy hasn't done in the last 2 months is putt. And when you look at the model up close, you know, with the bent and the way I cooked it up, he's fifth in the field in putting. All he needs to do is just keep doing what he's doing and just have a little luck with the putter. And if he does that and shows up, I think he could actually do, you know, surprisingly well, considering he hasn't really been on anybody's radar. And then, you know, his events have been kind of stretched out a little bit, but I mean, the last 6 tourneys he's played, he's still been top 42nd or better in 4 of them. And, you know, I'm okay with that. And then as far as again, there's no course history, but when you kind of break it down, he's 9th as far as the comps go. And then he's 8th as far as the 7,400 plus, you know, so I think he'll actually do okay. I know it may not be hard enough for him and he doesn't really show up at these, you know, scoring fests. So I think what worries me, maybe it's more of just a really, you know, tune up just to make sure everything's working for next week where, you know, hopefully he'll kill it next week. But, you know, since I don't really like anybody, yeah, I'll take my chances. I mean, still last 16 rounds, he's 34th, you know, driving accuracy, 23rd greens and reg, 26th in birdies and 6th in bogeys. So yeah, he can score. He just needs to putt. And if he has one of those, you know, +4 shots gains, you know, putting type of rounds, weeks, whatever you want to call it, he'll be up there at the end. So for sure. But
he's
again,
12th in the model. He's 12th in the model, 8K, you know.
8K is still a flaming pile of dog shit. I don't care.
I know.
So I'm gonna go drop down and then gonna drop up. So I've been kind of a Thomas Peters hater, but you know what? When I look at the 8K range, I'm going to play him this week. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of
swinging Belgian.
Yeah. Going with the Belgian chocolate. What can I say?
Is he a Euro?
So
yeah,
I know.
The last 4 starts.
He went to Illinois though, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, well, he's a Chicago Belgian. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Or champagne. He's doing the champagne with the Belgian chocolate. There you go. So
that's awesome.
4 top 15s in his last 4 starts. So when he's been playing, he's actually been showing up and doing, you know, pretty well. As far as the model goes with the over 7,400 courses, he's actually 20th in the model in the field. So like, I think he could actually do pretty well. You know, you look at his last 16 rounds. I mean, that whole total driving aspect is pretty good because he's 13th in driving distance and 40th in driving accuracy. So if you really, believe it's going to play long and, you know, he's got that kind of aspect to his game going pretty well. And then you kind of zoom into the total package the last 60 days. He's 35th off the tee, 43rd in approach, 23rd around the green, and still a pretty respectable 56 with the putter. Considering I don't like anybody in the 8K range, again, it's pretty well rounded. So I'll take a stab at it. So there's 2. So looking around, like it was one of those dart throws. So I went back to Old Faithful. So my number 3 is going to be our good friend, Mr. Siwoo Kim.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's good times, man, with Mr. Siwoo. So you look at his last 5, he's still got 4, you know, top 33s or better. You know, he's top 20% in the field in terms of, you know, average DraftKings, you know, as far as the model goes. So, you know, he can score when he wants to. It concerns me a little bit as far as the course history aspect because he's still like around that 60th marker with the comps and that over 7,400 thing. So I'm not entirely sure he's going to be able to keep up, but since I don't like anybody, I'll take my chances. But you look at the last 60 days, he's still 22nd off the tee. He's 7th with the approach, 52nd around the green, and 41st with the putter. So if he can get everything right well enough where he hits his spots, I'll take a stab. And as far as a fade, I am going to go back to Harris English.
Oh, man.
You know, when it works once, you're just going to try again. There's some things there that I like. There's some things there that I don't like, but for the most part, there's a whole lot of stuff I just really don't like. I mean, we talked about the form. You look at his last 5, you know, he's got his four starts of top 21 or worse. So, for that kind of price point, and where I think it's going to pay as far as DraftKings points, it's not going to do me any favors. You look at his last 16 rounds, he's still 105th with greens and reg. That's not going to help. Last 16 rounds, he's still 79th in bogeys. That's not going to help. And then you look at the last 16 days, his total driving just sucks. He's 118th off the tee, and he's got, 69th with the approach game. So, yeah. I'm going to leave Westwood alone because I assume somebody would fade him. I assume he might even get a second fade, but I picked on Harris English. So, yeah.
Well, let's. I'm going to save pro for last because my list is such a shit bed.
What?
I'll start with. I just couldn't believe how bad 8K looked. I mean, watching 8K guy win too. That's just the way it works, right?
Yep.
I went with Luke List. Luke List, first of all, he's top 15 in the model for an 8,400. He's on the lower end of 8K. In this field, last 24 rounds, based on my weights, he's 10th off the tee, 6th in distance, 23rd in birdie or better, 8th in eagles, and 39th in approach. Now he's if he, to your point about some of these other guys, if he could just get a few putts to drop, he could have a chance to make some noise for a lower 8K range guy. So I got Luke List in there, and I got the guy that last week looked really, really good, and that's Keith Mitchell. He's at the bottom. He's at 8K, and I'm a big believer in recent form, and he is striking the ball really well. He's 4th off the tee, 19th in distance, 6th in birdie or better in this field. And now he's not great in approach right now. He's about the middle of the road in this field, but he is right there in top 35 in eagles as well. So 6th in birdies, 35th in eagles. I'll take my chances with him at the bottom of the 8K range at 8,000. And my last guy is one of your guys, Peters. For all the reasons above that you mentioned, I like him, and he's actually 16th in my model. And so those are my three guys. None of them are sexy. None of them taste great as I chew on them, but that's who they are. And my fade is none other than Siwoo Kim. And the reason is because Siwoo Kim, for me, he seems to play really good when he wants to play really good, and I just see him tuning up. I don't know. I could be way off base here. This is conjecture at this point, but I see him really, really trying to get geared up for next week. He's so schizo when he plays. He's 81. He's 81st in driving distance. He's 39th in birdie or better, which ain't bad. He's 83rd in eagles. Nothing stands out. And no, he's 83rd in eagles. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong. 81st in driving distance, and so nothing stands out for me. And so for me, I'm fading that guy because he's at the top of the range. He's $8,800, and with that, I'm passing the baton to our friend Pro to finish up the beautiful 8K range.
I will grab it from you, sir. I actually agree. I will take Keith Mitchell and his awesome caddy, Crunchy Pete, who's a fantastic follow.
Hey, anybody that's called Crunchy has to be followed.
Crunchy Pete, he he lives outdoors and shit. The guy's wild. Anyway, if you look at Keith Mitchell's driving statistics over like the last 4 seasons, he's top 15 to 20 every single year. Dude hits it a mile.
And he hits it in the fairway.
Yeah, and the T3 last week, he played really well. I'm going to roll with him again this week. Hopefully we get the same thing. Luke List, again, another guy. I'm with you on that one. Played really well last week. Again, another bomber, another guy that can move it out there. 7th in strokes gained off the tee. 3 top 10s this year, surprisingly, really, to be honest with you. And then I'm going to play Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Army, let's go. Hey, man, he's actually had a quiet, decent year.
He has. He won us some money.
He's top 20 around the greens. I mean, that's really all you can say is a positive. I mean, there's no negatives. There's just no real standout things for him, Siwoo. I'm going to fade Cameron Champ. And here's the deal. It's just
he's Cam Champ.
215th in strokes gained putting, 198th in strokes gained around the green. That's just not a recipe for good golf. And Cameron Champ hits the ball country mile, and I get it. But it just hasn't been there, man. And those are things that kind of scare me, and I'm just going to fade him. I faded him in the past, and it's actually done pretty damn well because he's been trash pretty much all year.
He's going to lose 5 strokes on the to the field in par 3s.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to roll with it again, man. And so I'll fade Cam Champ.
That's kind of the scary thing about the whole field, though. The field is, for the most part, with guys with pretty good tee to green games, but none of them can putt. So really, at the end, it's just going to be which 3, 4, 5 guys get a pretty decent, roll with the putter going, and those are the ones that are going to end up there. So, and I get the List play, I do. The interesting thing about List, I think he's one of the few actually that have some experience on the course. I think he was here in 2012 with the Korn Ferry Final Web.com thing or whatever, and I think he did pretty well then too. So, and with him playing and having the course history, I can tell you now he's on my first round leader list for Thursday morning for sure.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So that takes us through the 8K range. Unfortunately, we did not have a single player with a consensus, and so we're still sitting at 2 players with consensus. No, we got 3. Berger, Spieth, and Scheffler at this point. Okay, 7K. Obviously, we got Gim, the guy you talked about. I'm all over Gim just because when I saw your model come out with Gim, I was just like, I'm going to take Gim. I'll let you talk about. We already kind of talked about him. I also got Taylor Gooch this week, and Taylor Gooch just kind of popped up for me. Nothing spectacular, but the one thing I really like about him is his irons and the fact that they're going to be so critical this week. He is 5th in this field in the last 24 rounds in irons on approach shot. He's also 38th in putting, which you guys just talked about the importance of that. He doesn't suck at anything except for eagles. He's 148th in the field in eagles. Everything else, he's in the top 40%. And so you get a guy under 8K in the top 40% of everything. Outside of one category, yeah, I'll take that guy at $7,900. And then I got a guy that I haven't played all year long. He's at the lower end, is $7,400, and that's Snedeker.
Sneeds.
I got Sneds, my Vanderbilt boy.
That's a bold
he is in this field in the last 24 rounds. He's 13th in birdie or better, and this is a birdie course. He's 3rd in eagles. So he's 3rd in eagles, 13th in birdie or better. He's 42th in approach, and he's 34th on the putter. He's not long, but he's got all the other things going for him. And at $7,400, I'll throw a flyer at Brant. And then my fade is going to be none other than Perez. And there's nothing about his game right now that I like for this course. 75th off the tee, 87th in distance, 78th in birdie or better, 64th in approach, 40th in putting. That's his best category. And so, I'll just fade that guy right there at $7,300. And that takes it to pro.
Yeah, I mean, I will also take Taylor Gooch for the same reasons as you've said. He's had a really good year if you really look at it. He's one of those guys on tour that is really cashing checks for his family kind of under the radar. Like he's not a guy that you see on tons of leaderboards, but he's backdoor top 25 in. I like him this week. I like Carlos Ortiz this week as well. I thought he showed good signs last week. Listen, this pick isn't flashy. He hasn't had great form recently. But I'm going to go with him. I'm also going to go with Tom Hoagie here in the 7K range. The model likes him. He's been playing good golf. He's a great iron player, 19th in a strokes gained approach to the green. Sneds has been awful, but who knows?
Hey.
But very disappointing year for Sneds. That's a good point. Like Sneds is like, it's been a tough year for the guy.
Sneds will make the cut. He will make the cut.
You think Sneds makes the cut?
I'm thinking he will.
What are we putting on that? I might fade that. You got anything good?
I got a half of. I tell you what, I got half a tub of raw almonds.
Okay, that's fair.
We'll go with that.
I'll send you a half a bag of gummy bears if I lose.
I need the almonds, man.
Well, listen, man, the gummy bears. This is what it is.
All right. A sleeve of Titleist Pro V1s.
And then I'm fading Wesley Bryan. Hasn't been a good year. He's missed 2 out of the last 4 cuts, 0 top 10s, 159 strokes gained off the tee. It's kind of, to be honest with you, to me, it kind of seemed like a cop-out, easy fade. But hey, listen, at that point, I was just fading him.
Well, we had 2 guys, Hoagie and Gooch, both graduated Q school right there at this course.
Learn something new every day.
Pretty
Probably
cool.
worth keeping on the radar.
Yeah.
So what did Justin do in the 7s?
Justin went with Fowler, and he put all cap letters. Ricky. And then he went with Gim. I guess he followed the model. Then he went with Rosner.
Okay.
And he faded Carlos Ortiz. He faded Ortiz last week.
He made the cut last week,
Ortiz.
Justin. Yeah, why do you hate Ortiz, dude?
Why do you hate Ortiz?
Yeah, it seems disrespectful if you ask me.
COVID, man. COVID just messing with him.
All I know is all Falcon Day says Justin needs to lay off the hash, and he also said that Neds has a DFL in his future.
Well,
wow! Shots being fired from all
our friend all Falcon Day is all fired up.
let me try to shoot back then, because like, for as much as I hated the 8s, I actually think the 7s are probably the key to your week. And my plays and fades are like a hodgepodge of everything mentioned so far. So let's start with the fun one. I'm all in on Sneds this week.
Woo!
Yeah, it's a little further down on the model, but, he's playing with Keith Mitchell. They ran pretty well at the Zurich. And so I tend to believe that, you play with your buddy and you're going to do pretty well. I think that, I know Mitchell sort of carried Sneds a little bit, but still, I think they had a good old time. They did well, and they're going to, run it up again. And, his last 50 days, he's actually been kind of sneaky good compared to where he's been. His mom died, and, he's just been dealing with whatever Sneds deals with in his life, but
Sneds deals with
last 50 days, we always know he's a pretty good putter, but so he was 12th in putting over the last 50 days, but he's 34th around the green, which is up from him. He's 23rd the approach, and even the 67th off the tee isn't really bad for him. That's actually pretty good. In the last 16 rounds, he's still 9th in birdies, so he's been getting it done, and 45th in bogeys is still going to put him in the upper end of the field, so I'll take that. And when you loop in the Zurich, he's got 3 top 12s in his last 4 starts. He's 63rd as far as the comps go. And then, when you take that whole hodgepodge of tee to green thing I cooked up, he's still top 20% in the field. So for 7,400, I know he's further down the model, but yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm going to ride the heater.
I love Sneds, for the record.
I promise you, we had no idea. I had no idea he was on Sneds.
Yeah, no. And I actually have an outright already placed on him too, 100%.
Oh, Lord almighty. That's not a real thing.
I'm feeling good today.
Oh, my God.
Baby. I'm feeling good today. What can
you know what? In spirit of Guru and me both having Sneds, 125 to 1 will have to be one of our bonus long shots.
So check this, right? So next on my list, and we don't normally match up all the time, but I'm playing Taylor Gooch too, and I have an outright on Taylor Gooch. I already in the bucket, already placed, man.
Oh wow!
7K is my friend this week. I mean, so last 50 days, so he's 50th off the tee, 6th in approach and 47th in putting, but he actually putts better on bent. And, the way the model's cooked up, he's 21st in the field, with the putter. So if he can just keep rocking the tee to green game like he's been doing and just enjoy the cool breeze that you're going to be feeling in Texas and just roll it right on in, I'm pretty good. And the last 16 rounds, I mean, he's 45th driving distance, 46th greens and reg, 28th in birdies, 41st in bogeys. And then just in case not really sure on the course itself, he's 4th on the comp list. And then as far as the course is over 74, he's 21st. It all adds into, yes, I'm going to play you. I don't care if you're going to be 15% owns. I'm going to stack most of my DraftKings lineups, and I'll tell you this now, with probably one guy at the top, one guy almost at the top, and probably loaded up with 3 guys in the 7Ks. And hopefully I can not have to go too far into the 6s when I'm done. But that's what I'm going to play. And the model almost spit something out like that. And I completely agree with it. And then just to make everybody feel super awesome, the third one on my card, I'm going to play some Ricky Fowler, baby.
Oh my goodness.
Christ almighty.
I got one from everybody. It's pretty awesome. What can I say?
But you don't have Gim.
I'm gonna play Gim, but he was fourth on my list. I would kind of more of a little strategic.
You just want some shock factor here for the show.
I like the shot factor. Yeah, I do. And so Ricky's kind of interesting, but he's top 10 in the field when you break down the comps in the 7,400 category. So this ought to fit him. He actually looked better last
one
week.
round.
Better for one round. Yeah.
I was super pumped about it too. I was
Ricky.
Yeah, I was amped about it.
One round becomes 2 rounds, and then he shows up next week and pulls a rose and finishes top 10 in the PGA, and everybody thinks he's back. But his last 16 rounds, I mean, he's maybe. I got my hash from Taco Bell today. What can I say? 58th in driving distance, 59th in driving accuracy over his last 16. So, I mean, that's workable for me. He's got last 50 days, he's 44th off the tee and 10th around the green. He's going to putt better on the bent anyway. And I know it's kind of a stretch, but if you look at his last 6 tourneys, he still has 2 top 20s in there. So if this course kind of fits and maybe he found something and he gets that whole repetition working, I don't expect him to win. But, if he can, make the cut and, show top 20, top 30, whatever, and have a good showing, I'm down with that.
I wanted to take him.
So, Sneds, Fowler, and Gooch. And oddly enough, yeah, I took the low-hanging fruit, too, because I just don't like him at 70. I think he's 7,100. I faded Wes Bryant, too. Like, what the hell have you done? Like, there's plenty of guys in the 6K range that I think could have been in the 7s. But, in his last 5 starts, he's got one of them was in the top 25. The other 4, I think he's got 2 in the 40s and 2 missed cuts or something ridiculous. Last 16 rounds, he's 133rd with driving accuracy, 113 greens and reg, 84th in bogeys. That doesn't do anything for me whatsoever. And his last 50 days, he's 104th off the tee, 68th in approach, and 80th around the green. The only thing he's done remotely well is putt. But if the rest of your game sucks, if you want to putt from 50 feet, go for it, dude. But I promise you won't make but more than 1 or 2. So, yeah, Wes Bryant is my fade in the 7Ks.
Wow.
I had fun with that range. Can we do that again?
Sure. Keep it rolling. Why don't you just roll on into the 6?
Oh, see, then I'm going to spoil Justin's fun because, now I'm back into the 8K hill because, I hated the 6s. Like, the 2 that made the most sense to me were, the 2 that actually the model popped out. And I really wouldn't have been on them had the model not made me go take a look. So, Garnett made sense because he was 28th in the, model. So, started diving into him. Last 16 rounds, he's first in driving accuracy. He's 13th greens and reg, third in pars and 7th in bogeys. So he's keeping it together. He's getting it close. He's just not lighting up the scoreboard. And what concerns me with him is the fact that it's not that coastal course where he's going to get the 20 under par. I think he'll do all right here. He'll probably make the cut and plug it around. And hopefully, he surprises the hell out of me. But I just don't see him being able to keep up with, when your game's the irons and the putter and you don't have that 320 length that you're going to need to just hang with people. I think you're going to fall a little short. But still, the form's been pretty good. He's still got 4 top 25s in his last 8 starts. So kind of a, pretty good and not so good. But again, we've got him top 30. So I'm just banking on one of those better form tourneys. And then he's 38th off the tee and 29th with the putter in his last 60 days. So that actually, says, okay, I'm going to play. Then the next one down the list for me was Andrew Putnam. He's really kind of short, but other than the length, the rest of the game has been pretty above average. And considering the rest of the crap in the 6K range, it kind of made it look even better. But again, when you have people and I'm jumping to somebody else that I'm not going to play, but when you have people like DJ Trahan that are suddenly up to 63 or 64 when they're normally 6,000, when you're getting that premium bump just because the rest of the range sucks, then you know what you're dealing with. So Putnam at 67 is kind of normal. But
did nothing to you. You just called him out just to make
he got old and stopped playing well.
Of
Yeah. He got old and stopped playing well. So it's the first name older, I should say. He's not old. He just got older. He stopped playing well. I remember when he was pretty good, 15 years ago, but that's a long time ago. But so Putnam last days, he's 52nd around with the approach, 60th around the green, and 54th in putting. It's not spectacular, but that's going to put you in the upper half of the field. So if you can get lucky on some of these maybe shorter holes and just not screwed up on the par 5s, you'll be fine. But the comps check out. I mean, he was 32nd as far as the comps go, which is kind of surprising because there were some tough courses on the comp list. And then he was actually 12th the way the model cooked it up in the courses over 7,400. So I was kind of surprised. Now, the other 2 that, I kind of dug up, Joseph Bramlett. He was 64th in the model, 6,700. So at last 16 rounds, he's 23rd in pars. He's 13th in driving distance and 58th in greens and reg, which I thought was a pretty decent combination for a guy a little lower down the board. You look at the last days, he's 46th off the tee, 55th in approach, and 7th around the green. Again, you have another guy with a pretty decent tee to green game that just can't putt. So if the 6K guy gets the putter going a little bit, he might actually, bounce up there. Then the other guy, and going to fit in the same kind of category, is our friend Mr. K.H. Lee.
There we go.
He's 60th in the model, 6,900. Last 16 rounds, he's 37th with the driving accuracy. He's 42nd in birdies and 19th in bogeys. So he's got a little, good thing working there. Last days, he's 28th off the tee. He's 29th in approach and 41st around the green. Again, another guy that just can't putt. Give me a little lukewarm putter, and you might be pulling some Luke List and getting up there with him. And
putter and Luke List reference. This guy can't.
This guy's feeling great, man. What can I say?
He's on a roll, fellas.
So, and as form goes, he's got 7 made cuts in his last 9 tourneys, and they've actually been getting better over the stretch. So, I think there's a little bit of juice there for sure. So, hopefully, I don't have to go below 67 because there's really nobody I like below 67. But Garnett 6,900, Lee 6,900, Brilliant 6,700, and Putnam 6,700. So say a prayer for me if I have to go below 67. But those are the 4 guys in the 6Ks that I like, and I don't really advise playing anybody else, but I will root you on from afar if you want to go that low.
All right, I'm going to do Justin, then we're going to give pro, and then I'm going to finish up the 6Ks before we go to the optimal lineups. I love what you just did there. By the way, Ryan is really big on Tyler Mccumber this week at 6,400. He calls him a gem, as a matter of fact.
That's truly outrageous. Truly outrageous.
It's preposterous. Justin has Sung Kang, Garnett, and
that's his home board.
And I will say that Garnett and Putnam, we've heard their names already twice. What do you got there, Pro?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch. I'll hit KH Lee as well. I mean, I'm just gonna run through these for the reasons that Nick said. KH Lee is it's like either you get good KH Lee or you get the absolute shit show KH Lee.
Same thing with Sung Kang.
Yep, exactly. It's literally like playing with a hot coal. Like, what side do you touch it? Like, it depends on the week, right? But I'm gonna go with it. I don't know why. Andrew Putnam, I will agree with as well. The third person I have, and I don't feel great about it, and I don't really have much to say about it, is Cameron Percy. Occasionally the guy will show up. All we're looking for is a made cut here in the 6K range.
He can play in the wind.
6K guy if you can play him to win, I'm not going to play him to win. But
no, I'm saying he can play in the wind.
Oh, he can play in the wind. Yeah. So if he makes the cut, we're in good shape. Those are the 3 I like.
I really wanted to play our boy CT Pan this week, but he's 7,200, and I was really kind of pissed. If he was 69, his stats for the 24 are actually pretty good, but at 72, there's so many good guys in the 7K range. But I was really kind of bummed. Again, it goes back to the field is so bad, they're making CT Pan 7,200. Anyway, sorry for the tangent.
No, I love it. I'm going with you guys on a lot of those. I like Garnett, but. And I also like Putnam, but there's 3 I wrote down, and then there's one super crazy one just because it's part of the show.
Yes.
I like Sam Ryder. Obviously, we know I like Putnam. I also like Sloan and Gordon, and Sloan is like $6,900. He's 25th off the tee. He's 26th in birdie or better. He's 15th in approach, and so I like those stats right there for him. And then Gordon, 9th off the tee, 3rd in distance, 18th in eagles, and 46th in birdie or better, and he's in the top half in putting. So $6,800 there. But then the one I really want to talk about.
Go ahead.
He's a college player. Our guy, Cole Hammer's in the field from Texas. He's been playing really, really well, winning everything, and he's $6,500. And in his 8 rounds, when you compare his 8 rounds in this field with everybody else's 24 rounds, he's right there. He's 53rd off the tee, 79th in distance, 67th in approach, 46th in putting. I mean, yeah, those aren't great numbers, but he's $6,500 and he's from there.
Yeah, a local following for sure.
He knows the course. He's playing really well, really well right now. He's got his groove back, and so you know what? He's 400 to 1, and throw $1 on the guy. His name is Hammer. How can we not play this guy? And so, yeah. There's a lot of analytics to my point here today. But anyway, I just think it's kind of cool because
analytics aren't necessary all the time.
I've been paying attention to him, and I love the fact that he's in the field, and so it's going to be fun to watch. But anyway, that's our plays and fades. We hope you guys do well with them. We're going to go straight to the optimal lineup, and before we get you out of here, and the optimal lineup is unique because we have 2 optimal lineups to pick from this week, and we're going to let Guru go through them. I'm going to go ahead and show the first one right now, and you're at it, buddy.
Most of the time when I run the combinations, there's usually a bit of a gap between the first, the most likely or the most optimal lineup and the next couple up there. But the first and second were so close, it was worth kind of tagging them both because really you have the same core of 4 key guys in the lineup and you're just changing out pieces. So the 4 core pieces between the 2 lineups, you've got Bryson. He's number 1 in the model. He's 11,200, and he makes sense for the reasons we mentioned. Berger is 4th in the model. He's 10,100. He was the next man up, so to speak. And then we've got our three guys that were highly ranked in the 7K, and we talked about 2 of them and didn't even make it to the third one. We briefly mentioned, Doug Gim. He's 13th in the model, and he is 7,500. You've got Johnny Vegas. He is 19th in the model, and he is 7,200.
And we didn't even talk about him.
We even talk about him. Yeah, he's just to me, it just shows that how stacked that 7K range really is, and how you really just need to piece. Hopefully, you can piece it together, correctly and get where you need to go. Tom Hoagie is 25th in the model, and he is 7,200. And then to round it out, we ended up on Andrew Putnam. He is 36th in the model. So those 5 guys together are 49,900, with leaves you 100 to spare, and that puts you at a crisp 546.1 points. So we'll call that 1A, if you will. Then the optimal 1B, if you will. Again, you've got Bryson at number 1 in the model. You've got Doug Gim at 13 in the model. You've got Johnny Vegas at 19 in the model. And you've got Tom Hoagie at 25 in the model. And just as a quick refresher, Bryson is 11,200. Doug Gim is 7,500. You've got Johnny Vegas at 7,200. You've got Tom Hoagie at 7,200. Now, where it changes up a little bit, rather than using Daniel Berger, it suggests possibly sliding in Will Zalatoris. And I don't think that's a terrible thing because in the model, you've got, Berger 4th and you've got Zalatoris 5th. So there's really not a huge discrepancy there. The model thinks there might be a couple of points difference in the placing. And as far as, DraftKings points go, that makes sense, but that's really going to be the big difference there. And, we talked up Zalatoris pretty well, and we think he's a, pretty viable play as well. But the biggest difference is you're pivoting your last guy from Andrew Putnam and you're moving on to Bryce Garnett. Bryce Garnett is 28th in our model and he is 6,900. And so when you add those 6 guys together, you are at 49,700. So it gives you a little bit more wiggle room as far as, piecing guys in and out if you wanted to, cascade the lineup, with that 300 to spare. And that still puts you at 545.9. So you're basically a quarter point or less than a quarter point away between the 2 lineups. So nothing else, just as far as the optimal goes, you play Bryson, you find basically the 3 guys you like in the 7K range and just put in whoever the heck else you want that makes sense. If you want to play some Brooks, play some Brooks. If you want to go up there and play a Berger or Spieth or whatever, great. You just have to make sure that you've got the salary at the end to, find the guy you want to fill it out. But I think it's got some potential there on a course with, a lot of unknowns. I think you could do a whole lot worse. And I think, there's definitely scoring potential with, that core 4 and in both lineups. I think all 6 guys could end up scoring pretty well. So I'm pretty excited to see how it turns out.
Man, me too. Of course, I will put in both lineups. I may fool around with it a little bit here and there based on my preferences, but I'm with you again, man. Especially on Bryson. And I think I don't know what Justin's thinking by not playing Bryson. Justin, he's on hash. He's on hash.
He's got a Rom crush. What can I say?
He does. He's got a Rom crush, and this will be the week that Rom goes out there and crushes. Anyway, I do not have all of my outrights. I put one out as soon as it came out on Monday. I put a one on Will Zalatoris. I just liked the number. I also put one on Peters, and I've got some others that I'm playing around with. I'm probably going to put that out tomorrow night or tomorrow during the day. And also, I know that the Profile of a Contender will be out tomorrow. The full model will be out tomorrow. Do you guys got any outrights you want to talk about right now?
I looped into Zalatoris like you. I took a dive in the deep end with Jason Day, figuring, if he does what I think he could do, then, he'll be up there. I didn't play him as far as my fades and plays, but I did put the money on Luke List, like I said. I've got the money on Gooch and Sneds. And then the only other one that I didn't mention, but I think Justin played him, if I'm not mistaken, is I took the action on Charles Schwartzel too.
Oh, really? Wow. What was the line on that one?
It was higher earlier. I got it at 65, but I think it's like 60 now. Like people have been jumping on that.
It's showing 70 on the board.
Yeah, it was 65. Like it dropped. I think it went up and then it went down. Like people started seeing the same things or just following the leader.
Right. Pro, did you have any outrights that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Real quick, Spieth 11-1, Scheffler 19-1.
Money.
I like Fitzpatrick a lot, 21-1. Crunchy Pete and Keith Mitchell at 55-1. And then I like the long shot would be kind of Carlos Ortiz at 70.
Man, Justin hates that guy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I heard he's a really nice gentleman.
I don't get it, man. I don't know why he hates him so much. I've actually got. I forgot to mention. I do have one. Hold on one second. I did. I hate when they make me do this. I did. I went ahead and put one in for Gim and Thomas Peters. Both at 70.
It's a good number. It makes sense.
I like those numbers. When you can get 70, but I'll have all my plays and my bonus long shots probably either later tonight or tomorrow, and we'll work on our consensus as soon as this is done. I do want to let everybody know that obviously next week is the PGA Championship, and we are going to have a new show that's going to be strictly geared to betting. And what we're considering doing, and we're gonna have a staff meeting on this tomorrow. But Andy Lack, the writer and proprietor of pickthepup.com, features on a lot of other shows. He's going to come on board with the three of us and do an analytical show. I don't know. I don't even know if there's enough bandwidth to manage Guru's mind and his mind at the same time, both on the analytics. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk betting next Monday night, and it's going to be pretty cool. The three of you guys together, it's just going to blow my mind. And so I'm just going to be here for eye candy and let you guys kind of go to town and talk about analytics and the course and the course history and all that fun stuff. In the meantime, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe, let us know what you want to hear or what you want to see and what we can do better. And let everybody know about it. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate all the great comments that we get during the show. And it means so much to us, and we're grateful for each and every one of you. Once again, be looking out for the best article in the business tomorrow, and the model will be attached to that article, and our consensus plays will be posted. And so we have a whole lot to share with you. Good luck this week, and good luck next week for the PGA. We're going to have multiple shows for you to roll that thing out with. And so In the meantime, any final thoughts, guys?
Rest up while you can. Next week's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Awesome.
Sure is.
Peace out, everyone.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to hammercast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep